There is a, that tonight, Meitzai Shushan Purim, I think we could still learn about Purim. Frat in Yerushalayim now is the big Suda, the big Simchas now is in Eretz Yisrael.
Today in Eretz Yisrael right now, it's happening right now. Purim is happening right now.
That's right. Now is all the Tishin and all the things are going on.
It's light already.
Yeah, but it's
3 in the morning.
Yeah, but it's going on. Oh, it's 3 in the morning now?
Now it's already late in the morning.
Oh, so it's already over.
Look, Mestamed is still Reb Chaim Shalom Deitch is still verbringing and Al Gopin.
Yeah.
Mestamed the Chassidim are still verbringing.
What kind of bracha can I make on this?
Deitch went into verbringing in already 5 hours ago.
And Krachabad is still going, Mestamed.
Halva sent me the link to watch it.
What are we learning here?
He said he had put a lot
The
of
Gemara says,
money.
yeah, who?
Deitch.
Yeah. The Gemara says, the Gemara asks, the Gemara says that we read the Megillah, you're allowed to read the Megillah from the first Mishnah, Sechs Megillah, Nekras, B'Yid Aleph, B'Yid Beis, B'Yid Gimel, Yid Aleph, Tezvav. You're allowed to read for 5 days the Megillah. 5 days, from Yid Aleph through Tezvav, you're allowed to read the Megillah. The Gemara asks, how do we know? We know you can read Yid Aleph, Tezvav. The Gemara clearly says you can read Yid Aleph, Tezvav. Yudalit, we read in Yudalit, Yerushalayim and Walden cities read on Tezvav. The Gemara asks, how do we know that you're allowed to read also other days, earlier days? So the Gemara says that you're allowed to read earlier, 2 days early, or not extra two from Yud Aleph, because it says Bizmaneim. The word Bizmaneim in their times is extra. Therefore, we learn out you add another 2 days. The Gemara asks, so why are we adding from Yud Aleph? Add Yud Beis and Yud Gimel. So we have it 4 days now. Why don't we get a 5th day Yud Aleph? So the Gemara says Yud Gimel Adar did not need to be included in any pasuk. Because Megillah itself says you can read the Megillah. We read the Megillah in Yud Aleph Adar. We read on Yud Aleph and Tezvav. The Mishnah says we can start reading from Yud Aleph. Megillah Nekras, Yid Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Yud Aleph. That means when they were villagers, the villagers could read it earlier.
That's 4 days.
With Tezvav, it's 5.
5 days.
With the Shushan Purim Yerushalayim. So now, how do we know this? The Megillah itself only says Yud Aleph Tezvav. It says Walden cities Tezvav, and the unwalled cities Yud Aleph. Like we do Yud Aleph, and Yerushalayim and the Walden cities do Tezvav. How do we learn that you're allowed to read earlier dates? In cases when there was the villagers, they couldn't come into the city on the Yudalit, they're able to read it earlier. Where do we know you're allowed to read it earlier? Martha, we learn out from the word Bizmaneim. It comes to be marba to include another extra 2 days of reading a Megillah. So not only you can read Yudalit as well, but an extra 2 days. Right. So you can start reading from Yud Aleph. The Gemara says starting to read from Yud Aleph is 3 days extra. Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel.
And you only have 2 days with the Bizmaneim.
Bizmaneim only gives you 2 days. So our name says you're allowed to read an extra 2 times. You're allowed to read Yud Aleph Tezvav. We give you an extra 2. Where do you get an extra 3rd? The Gemara says Yud Gimel Adar never needed a pasuk. It's logical that you're allowed to read in Yud Gimel. Why? The Iker Hanes of Purim happened in Yud Gimel. When did the Yidden stand up to fight their enemies? The whole lot that Haman threw was on Yud Gimel. They had to fight their enemies in Yud Gimel Adar, and they won on Yud Gimel. So Yud Gimel was the day of the Iker Hanes. Yud Aleph was the day when they rested. And they finished the war. We celebrate always the Yom HaMenucha, the day of the rest. But Kimuvan, the Yud Gimel is such a Amulanes, it doesn't need a pasuk. So therefore, Yud Gimel you can read logically speaking. That was then they won the war, they won the fighting. Yud Gimel. So Bizmaneim comes to include Yud Aleph Yud Beis. Then the Gemara goes on to say, how come I can't read past Tezvav? How come I can't read past Tezvav? Maybe Bizmaneim, instead of going backwards, Bizmaneim goes forwards. Instead of 2 days earlier, Yud Aleph and Yud Beis, maybe Bizmaneim should come to include to me Tez Zayin and Yud Zayin.
Right. Another passage for that.
So the Gemara says V'lo Yaver. It says you're not allowed to go past these days. V'lo Yaver.
Where does it say in the Megillah?
Yeah, you can't go past Tezvav. Past Tezvav you're not allowed to go. So the word Bizmaneim
you can't fight, you can't read.
After Tezvav you can't read. But Bizmaneim will only be marba earlier, not later. Now the Gemara's lashon is ve'emar ve'ema v'shitzar v'shivsar. Maybe we should be able to read on the 16th and the 17th. Tazayin Yud Zayin. And the Gemara explains no, because it says v'lo yaver you can't.
That's the Megillah.
Yeah. However, there are Rebbes, there are Chassidish Rebbes out there that have a tish. It's called a shitzar and the shivsar tish.
Wow.
Since the Gemara had a havamina, had a thought that Megillah could be read 16th and the 17th, means that the Gemara had a thought that these days, there's somewhere, at some level, there is a connection between 16th and 17th to Purim.
The Havamin is true.
The Havamina. So the ending of the Maskara of the Gemara is you can't leave the Yaver, but they can make a Chsidish Shatish, and they don't say. Some of them don't say
The
Tachna.
Havamin of a tzaddik.
Don't say Tachna.
The Havamin of a tzaddik remains active and valid. That's why it's a pain in Sifra, even though it was taken back.
Is this Shalom?
Still in the capacity of the tzaddik. That's what he said in the shir.
Let's watch the cake.
So, that's a side topic. The halacha, any of this applies?
No, halacha is we say tachon. Some Chassidish groups don't say tachon. That's the only thing that they would do.
But no reading this has nothing to do with halacha.
No, nothing to do with halacha. You're not allowed to read the Megillah. Anyone who reads the Megillah after Tezvav, it's kfira. It's against the Gemara. It's a clear Gemara. V'lo yaver. It's a pasuk.
But you can read it as a Torah.
Yeah, you can read the Torah all you want.
Yeah.
Listen, the whole month is connected to other.
The
entire month is a special
They're
month.
still dancing in 770 tonight.
You can dance all month, but you can't read the Megillah. Halachically speaking, you
Even from
can't.
Yudal, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel.
No, that there
That's
is.
what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
No, today we don't have the concept. We don't really do that anymore. But in extreme situations, there's a Yerushalmi which says, based on Yerushalmi, not based on this Gemara in the Bavli. There's a Gemara Yerushalmi which says, in extreme situations, someone finds oneself on a boat, and one is going to be on a boat during Purim. He's not going to be able to hear the Megillah. He doesn't know how to read a Megillah. He doesn't own a Megillah. He should read it before, from Rish Chodesh Adar on. He could read the Megillah. And he's Yoitza. Now, there was certain people that wanted the tiny that, or certain jail. There were jails. When I was younger, that was one of the Rosh Hashivas that I learned by. He was tiny that there was when people went to read Megillah for Yidden who were in Nebuch in jail, incarcerated. So there were sometimes issues with getting into jails on the actual day of Purim. So they're very strict with the rules, and they would say, you can only come, would come for a visitation on an earlier date. So you want to tie him Ikar Hadin, you can read it earlier. The only shaila is if you read it earlier, you need a minyan, do you not need a minyan? But
you might need even a minyan.
According to the Mishabruda brings like a certain day that when you read it earlier, you can only do it if you have a minyan.
Really?
Wow. Reading it from a scroll versus like on Tanakh.
You never read it.
You always have to have the actual Megillah.
So it's not Yotze otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at Abayisa tonight. So it's still Matzoi Shushan Purim. It's still a Shaykhis. We know always by Chassidim, always the night going out of a Yom
Did
Tov
Rebbe bring Shushan Purim?
is always no. The Rebbe bring after the Purim.
Purim.
Right. Matzoi Purim.
This
This is a very unique mimer. The Rebbe said.
What?
I wanted to take a look at a unique mimer. We're not going to learn the entire mimer, but we'll unique mimer that the Rebbe said on a Matzoi Purim after the Suda. Everyone came to the 75 bring. This mimer was said by the Rebbe. See, this mimer was said.
Exactly.
1953. To use this one, it's mistaken.
Okay.
1953.
I was 2 years old.
Huh?
I was yet to be 4 years before.
So, 1953, the Rebbe said this mimer. Now, the mimer, those usually b'chlal the Rebbe, the Chabad Rebbe would only say one mimer Chassidus during their Fabrengen. One mimer. Very unique. They would say 2 times, but that was a unique thing.
In 2 separate parts of the Fabrengen.
Right.
In the Fabrengen, it was only during the Fabrengen he would say a middle. There was Sichis, but there was one point to be a mimer Chassidus, strictly a mimer Avarta Chassidus, a mimer Chassidus. Now, a formal mimer Chassidus was said. It was said with a niggin, a special mimer niggin. Was all the Rebbeim used to say with this mimer niggin. And the vart was that usually we never say a second mimer. Later on years, there were years that he did sometimes, once in a while, not Dafka Purim, but whatever Yom Tov it was that he was saying a mimer, could be there would be a second mimer. It was a rare thing. This actually, 1953, this mimer, this was the first time that Rebbe did it.
Wow.
That if Fabrengen, the beginning of the Fabrengen, he used to come in, towards the beginning he would say the mimer, everyone would stand up and stand for the mimer. say a special niggin. The Rebbe would close his eyes and say the Maimer. How long it took, it could be a half hour, 40 minutes, whatever it was. Later on at night, at around like 3, 4 in the morning, Farbrengens were very late. Suddenly they saw on the Rebbe's face, 5 minutes before the Rebbe used to say a Maimer, you were able to see on the Rebbe, he was turning pale, and he was...
Really? You can mamish see b'mocha?
They would see all the years the Rebbe saw...
Wow.
They knew...
His face color would
They didn't know what was happening. They saw the Rebbe's face color changing. It looked like there's going to be a Maimer. It was very strange. He never said a second Maimer yet.
Amazing.
As of 1953, when he came Rebbe, he didn't yet do this. And Bechlal was an unusual thing. So Lamaisa, suddenly the Rebbe says a story that when they overthrew the Tsar in 1917 in Russia, there was then a certain period of time, there was different groups that took over. It was 1 year. Not one group took over. Finally, the communists took over. At one point, there was, at that period of time, they held free elections in Russia. And the Rebbe Rashab instructed his Hasidim, they should all go vote. And he told them which party that the Jewish people should vote for. And there were a lot of Jewish people in Russia, so it was a big, powerful vote. So he encouraged everyone to vote. So there was a Chassid who didn't know anything about the Tsar, anything about the elections. He didn't understand anything politics. He was a real Chassidish Yid. He just knew one thing: the Rebbe told him to vote. Who to vote for, what it was all about, he had no idea. He was busy davening and learning. So Lamaisa, he knew he asked the Rebbe said a mitzvah to do a mitzvah. He asked to go and prepare. So he went to the mikveh. He got all ready to go to the ballot booth. He went and put on his gartel. He did it Ramash, real sincere.
Wow,
the Rebbe told him.
He's doing something the Rebbe said to do.
The Rebbe said to do.
It might be a dangerous thing.
So the Rebbe, the Chassidim showed him. He went to the other Chassidim. They showed him.
No,
The Chassidim showed him.
The
The Chassidim showed him what to vote. The Chassidim showed him who to vote for. They showed him what to do. Anyways, he walked out of the ballots. He was very, happy. He did the mitzvah. Outside there was a crowd of people cheering for one of the party. They were all saying hooray, hooray. So he thought, he joined the crowd and he said, hurrah, hurrah, he is bad. So he was standing outside and he was also joining the crowd. So the Rebbe said the story in a very serious tone.
He didn't know that the hoorah. He thought they were saying hoorah.
Instead of
He
hooray.
didn't-
Probably-
It's like he was clapping on a shimmery. He didn't want
Maybe he knew what it was. He knew what it was, but basically, the Rebbe said the story over, and he was very serious about it. And he said the story, and he said it very strongly. Suddenly, he mimicked how the Chassid said it. He said, "Hoorah, hoorah! He is evil. He's evil 3 times." And he made up some motion that everyone else should copy afterwards. And suddenly, and all the Chassidim together did the same thing. Hoorah, hoorah, hoorah! As soon as they finished saying it, suddenly the Rebbe entered into this Maimer. He said this Maimer that we're going to learn tonight. Al Kain Karoli Yameilu Porim Hashem Apor, and he said this Maimer. And there was a very big shock. Everyone was like, "Well, shocked." So they knew something's going on over here. They felt something's going on with Russia. Something going on. And the Maisa was 2 days later they found out that Stalin had died or was killed. Then, at that point, the Russians didn't tell out the news till a few days later. They said. He's in a coma now, and then a little while later he died. But he really died a few days earlier, till they worked out the control. They didn't want to tell anyone, fake news.
So he died from the hoorah that the Jews sang.
The Rebbe.
So the Rebbe, the hurrah that all the Chassidim said together, the Rebbe led it. So
1953.
it's a very special Maimer.
Wow.
So the Chassidim always connected the two together. And later on, the Rebbe's Maimarim were always written down by the Chassidim. They weren't edited necessarily. Later on, in 1991, this Maimer was given to the Rebbe. At that point, in the later years, the Rebbe stopped saying Maimarim so much, so they gave him the Rebbe Maimarim to edit from earlier years. So the Rebbe the Rebbe edited this Maimer for print, and they wrote in the beginning, in the opening, the Rebbe used to edit the opening, the introduction. In the introduction, they wrote that this Maimer was said seemingly in connection with the events that happened then in Russia. And the Rebbe edited it and left it that way, which was like a pella, that the Rebbe should allow it to stay that way. And that was this Maimer.
And now we'll learn.
It's a very interesting Maimer, yeah. Very interesting
The
Maimer.
edited version.
Yeah, edited version. So, we'll learn the main part of the Maimer. We're not going to learn every paragraph and every little piece, but the main gist of the Maimer. This mimer is focused on the fact that why the wholeness of Purim came through a pur. A pur means in Persia a lot, a goral, right? Haman threw a lot, and Haman thought that the lot was for his side. He was Yud Gimel Adar. He knew a little bit. He threw a lot. He was a goral, and he won. It fell in the month that Zayin Adar occurred. Zayin Adar was the day that Moshe Rabbeinu was nostalgic, so he felt that's a good sign. The Gemara says he didn't know that really Zayin Adar was also the date that Moshe was Yom Haledes, and Kedai Yom Haledes shetachapal Yom Hamisa. Yom Haledes is more powerful than the Yom Hamisa.
Wow.
So it was a bigger siman. That was Moshe's birthday that day. Was a bigger siman that could wipe out any bad siman that the stalkus of Moshe could have brought about. The Leid is so much more beautiful. The fact that we had a Moshe Rabbeinu, that his birth was here, is so much more powerful than the fact that he was nostalgic. So Haman didn't know that, and he was very happy with his simcha, but Lamaisa, everything played out the opposite. So this Maimer is going to discuss the fact that the whole nest is called Purim, the name of the lots, of the Goral. So Purim is connected to this, very intrinsically connected to this whole concept of Goral, of lots and throwing the lottery. What was this whole idea? What did Haman want with the lottery? Why did the nest come through the lottery? There's a lot of different aspects of Purim, a lot of different nissim. You could focus on different points. So this Maimer focuses on the concept of the Pur. There's a pasuk in Megillah. It says in the ending of the Megillah, "Al kein karo liyam elu Purim al shem Pur." These days are called Purim. Why? Because of the Pur, the lots. Al pi ha'yidua, it's known sheshmoy shekol davar, the name of everything in Lashon Kodesh. Moir al niyani shows what it is. This is the Yom Tov. If the name of Purim is Purim, that's what it is. Pesach is Pesach because it's Pesach. Sukkot is Sukkot because it's Sukkot. Purim is Purim because it's Purim. It's lottery. It's the time for lottery for Goral. What does that mean? We need to understand. That was not the Ikar Nes, the Purim, the lottery. The lottery is what Haman threw the lottery. That was the Ikar Nesa. Would have found on a different date. To add, furthermore, the Hagoyra Shehipal Haman, to add to the question, the girl the Haman threw, actually that was actually the part of the Gzeira. He threw a pour in order to see when he should Chas V'Shalom wipe out the Yidden. Mizesh Yom Elon Nikroyim B'Shem Purim Al Shem HaPur Mashma Shezeh HaGoyrul Hu Ikar HaNes Purim. Mashma that Goyrul is the Ikar Nes Purim. Not only that's the Ikar, Nes Nikal Shem, that the Nes was actually called after that name. The Nes of Purim for all generations. It was not called Esther, it was not called Mardchai, it was not called Mishnah V'Simcha, it was called Purim. It's intrinsically connected with the concept of Goyrul.
Is it Goyrul of Nes?
No, Goyrul is a lottery. Through a lot.
What is it, Ikar Nes?
It's a Persian word.
Persian word.
Yeah.
What is the
There's some discussion about that we call a name with a Persian word, but that's not the discussion of this Maimer. The discussion is what is the connection between Purim? Why are we calling it the lots? That's the whole Nes, Purim.
What's the Nes? What Nes?
The whole Nes of Purim.
No, but the lots.
Exactly. Shaila is a lechora that not. That was part of the Gzeira. That was the Gzeira.
It wasn't a Nes. It was a Shkach Pratis. But if it lands on others, the Nes is 1 in 12 happens. It has a chance 1 in 12 of happening.
Yeah. Let's skip the Siv Beis. Let's to the next page, Siv Beis.
There is no, that is not the.
No, there is the Rebbe does bring up over here.
There's no nest.
I'll give it over outside, but we'll go to Siv Beis. I want to try to finish the Maimer tonight.
The Ikar Nes of Purim emphasizes the Purim, but what
Well,
is that?
I want to go through the Maimer. When we're going to get to the ending, we'll have to just talk more. So that's what we need to leave ourselves some more time.
That's the Maimer's explaining. Right now we don't. Right now there is no nest. Right now.
No, the emes is like this. The emes is there is an easy answer. You could say
There is an easy answer.
there is an answer. You could say like this. There's two parts to this question. The Maimer is asking two parts of the question. Part one to the question is, why are we calling this Purim? This Purim is not the Ikar Hanes. This is not the Ikar Hanes. It's not the Nes Purim. Give it another name that symbolizes and brings out the miracle.
But does this have?
Not the lottery. Then to make the question stronger, the Rebbe adds that not only was this not the Nes, it was the opposite of the Nes. This was actually the Gzeira. This is Haman's plan. The Goral symbolizes Haman's plan.
This
If
was
Haman
not
threw the Goral, who threw the Goral?
It's
Haman.
the opposite. It was the plan. Not
Exactly. Okay, let's go straight to Siv Beis. For Yuvan Zeh al Piyam Avor B'Torah Oyer. The Maimer, there's a Maimer the Alter Rebbe says the Rebbe. We can understand it based. This Maimer is a Maimer the Rebbe. It's the Rebbe's Chidushim, but it's based on his predecessors. So here he's going to bring in a vart from Torah Oyer from the Alter Rebbe. The Purim v'Yoyim HaKippurim Shayachim Zeh Lazeh. Purim and Yom Kippur have a connection one with another. This already says in Zohar. The Zohar already says actually that Purim and Purim is called, and Yom Kippur have a connection to each other. They're both similar names, Purim and Yom Kippur. Although Purim really is a Persian word originally, and Yom Kippur means forgiveness, Kippur in Lashon. But as a remez, as a hint, the Pirush Yom Kippurim hu kamay Purim. Kippurim means like Purim. Meaning Yom Kippur is like Purim. Yom Kippurim means Yom Kippur.
I mean, Purim is stronger. Kippurim.
Correct. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. And that's not, we're not going to get into that idea. We're going to, in that it says in the parentheses, in the brackets, if you say this, when they, even more you can see from this Lashim, is Eshim Kippurim hu Kippurim, B'chaf Hadimim Avad, Mocha Shapurim and Ali Yesim Kram. You can see Purim is even a higher level. But that's not the main focus. Main focus is that Purim and Yom Kippur have a connection between each other. But what's the connection? This Maimer explains from the Alter Rebbe, one of the shaykhs between Yom Kippur and Purim is, Shneim hu inyan a goyrol. Both of them had a goyrol thrown on them. Purim had a goyrol, and Yom Kippur has a goyrol.
Right.
What does the Torah tell us in Kippur? Something we don't focus on so much, but if you think about it, there was a goyrol thrown. The two goats were thrown a goyrol. Which one should go Lazazel, and which one's going to go Lashem? We'll give you a carbon. V'gam Purim al Shema Purim hu a goyrol. That's one connection between Purim and Yom Kippur. Another connection between Purim and Kippur. Both of them reach to levels of godliness that are higher than the name Havai. We know there are different names of Hashem. The Shem Elokim, the Shem Adnai, Shem Shakai. There's different names of Hashem. These are not just stam names we throw around. Not like, Hashem has just different names. Someone Reuven, Shimon, Levi. No, each name symbolizes a different channel, a different level of godliness. The name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Shem HaMeforish, is a higher level than Shem Elokim. In Medrash and Chazal tell us Shem Elokim represents Midas HaGvura, Midas Hadin, and Shem Havaya, the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, represents Midas HaRachamim. And in Kabbalah and Chassidus delve into this a lot, into the idea of the names. Well, there's even higher than the level, even higher than the Shem Havaya, the Yud Kei Vav Kei. It says both Purim and Yom Kippur are higher, even the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, higher than the Shem Havaya. Do you remember Kippurim Ksiv Lifnei Havaya Titaru? Yom Kippur it says, how will you be purified, be forgiven? Lifnei Havaya.
Do we know which
L'mayla me Havaya. We're going to reach a level higher than Havaya, because when you do an Aveira, and you do a mitzvah, that has to do with the name Havaya. You want Tshuva, you want Kapara, you have to reach Lifnei Havaya, before Havaya. Lifnei Havaya literally means, in front of Hashem, you become purified. But the deeper meaning is Lifnei Havaya, before Havaya. A level of godliness, a level that goes higher than Havaya. At that level, you're going to receive your purification. So it's higher than Havaya. V'gam and Egei Purim. Also regarding Purim, it's explained that Tam Shal Nizkish Havaya B'chol Megillah says the name of Hashem is not mentioned one time. This is Pashat, one of the Sifrei HaKodesh of the Chav Dalet Kisvei HaKodesh, and the name of Hashem is not mentioned one time in Megillah. Why not? So there are a lot of different reasons why they didn't put the name wasn't an Anshe Kesatel did not put into the Megillah, either because they didn't want the Goyim. The Goyim would also use were going to be using the Megillah, and they wouldn't treat it respectfully. Different reasons. But Lamaisa, the deeper reason brought down is Purim is deeper than the name Havaya. Purim is deeper than the name of Hashem, so therefore it doesn't have the name Hashem.
Do we know which name it is?
Higher than names. Higher than names. Shapurim Ogili are Ensaf Shalamayla Mavaya. It's the name of Ensaf, which is higher than the name Havai. So we have two things that connect Purim and Kippur. In a Chassidish outlook, both of them have practically the first one is both of them have a goyrol attached to it. That's what we see clearly. And the second, they both are higher, reach higher than the level of Havai. Now, what's the connection between these two to each other? The fact that both are higher than Havai, both have a goyrol. There's a connection between these two. It's really one thing. Ubir hashaychus is the next paragraph. Ubir hashaychus hashva Purim. To explain the comparison between Kippur and Kippur, Shebishneim, that by both of them, who ingin hagoyrol, Shebishneim, and both of them in l'maylo shemavai. What's the connection between this?
Yuvan behektim,
the ingin hagoyrol l'maylo. So what is the concept of a goyrol? Let's think about it a little bit. When does a person throw a lot, a goyrol?
He wants to make money.
Think about it. When you throw the lottery, you play the New York State lottery.
Oh, the lot. Okay.
You play the New York State. We'll give a little more contemporary example.
You have to be in it to win it.
There is no chance. There is no chance for one or the other to win. They're all equally the same. They're all equally. Everyone has an equal chance. You have that equal chance to win. A goyrol is something that is thrown when everything is equal. When you know what to do in life, you don't need to throw a lottery, and like when the kids always say in the games, "Eeny, miny, mo." Who's considered who's going to be it? We have no way of deciding who should be it, who should be the first.
Lottery.
So you make a goyrol. When everything is the same and there's no way to determine it, seicheldik, logically there's no way to determine what should be the choice. The way how you go about it, determining the right path, is you go with goyrol. Goyrol is higher than seichel. It reaches to levels that are higher than seichel. Seichel does not have any opinion over here which way we should go, because seichel doesn't have any opinion. It's all the same. On the other hand, with goyrol we can discover. Now the concept of goyrol is not just something the Svarim bring out. There's a tshuvas hagoinim. It brings from the Go'inim before the Rishonim. Anyone that transgresses over the outcome of a goyrol is ko'over aseres hadibris.
In what respect is there?
For example, we find in Sefer Yoina Hanavi, right? Sefer of Yoina, the story of Yoina. That's a whole Sefer that Haftarah. That's a whole one of the Svarim. That Sefer of Yoina. That Sefer Yoina is about a goyrol. How did they determine who on the ship was responsible for the storm? Through throwing a goyrol. Goyrol was a method that even the goyim understood.
Did it come out to Yonah?
Yeah. That's how they figured out Yoina.
But he still had to
You gotta read your Bible stories.
Right? They still didn't want to go by it.
They were good people. They didn't want to hurt a life. They didn't want to kill him. They tried to save his life, but if there was no other choice.
They were trying to go for a
Well, listen. First of all, maybe they were trying to be careful, but they didn't want to go that far. The interpretation of the goyrol, what Yonis said to throw him off, the goyrol didn't say what to do. So goyrol is something when someone doesn't know what to do. There's a concept of goyrol. There's svarim that talk about it. That when you're allowed to ask a question to a goyrol, there was a famous goyrol with a gra. We one time had a shir here many years ago about this. Maybe we'll have to have another shir. Yeah, we should do another. About when you're allowed to ask questions to a goyrol, what type of questions. The Shulchan Aruch discusses it. How you should throw a goyrol, and when. There are many different svarim, Kabbalah svarim, and other svarim discuss.
What would be an example of throwing a goyrol in general?
Listen, there's a famous story with Rabbi Aryeh. There was a. By the Litvish circles, there's not many spooky things. By the Rebbes, the Mekubalim, there's different Nisim, and the Litvish have very seicheldik approach. You think what you have to do, and you do what you do. What comes out, al pi seichel, pi Torah, what to do. But there's one thing that the Litvish hold on to as Kodesh Kadashim, that they have something which is higher than seichel by them. That is the goyrol de gra. And officially, they have by them passed down a goyrol that the Vilna Goyin said, a goyrol that you could by opening up a chumash, and if you have a question, a life and death question, let's say you have a very serious question in life, you don't know what to do. You have no way to determine any other way to do. If Torah tells you what to do, you're not allowed to ask the Goral, because Torah told you what to do. But if you have no way to determine what to do, you don't know where to go, right, to the left, what should you do? You could open the Goral, and open up the Chumash, and a certain method of how many letters you count, counting this way and that way, you can figure out an answer to your question. Use a Torah and get an answer to your question.
Ikot HaKodesh is not Goral?
Those people that are doing it in a form of Goral, yeah.
It's a Goral.
Yeah.
You have a problem with something.
Yeah, but one thing people don't know is we'll have to have a shear. They're not allowed to ask the Goral all different types of questions. Like the doctor tells you have to have a surgery. You can't go and say, I'm going to open up the Goral and do the opposite. Or the Rav tells you, this is the halacha,
That's it.
That's it.
There's no question. There's no fixing it with the Goral.
Right, so this Goral has rules to it. There are rules of how and when you can use the Goral. So we can't abuse it. Now,
And the Gra set these rules.
the emes is azoi. We have nothing written from the Gra about this. There's a tradition that some Litvish and Sheshiva say down. Lamaisa is the Goral of the Gra really comes from the Arizal. These concepts come from Talmidim with Arizal. It's much earlier than the Gra. It's not based on the Gra. It could be the Gra himself taught it to someone, and therefore people called it out on his name. It doesn't originate with the Vilna Gaon.
How is it possible?
Anyways, Lamaisa was the Litvish Sheshivas did use it at certain times in history. It's the only thing that they would do something a little spooky. So they would do Lamashal by World War II, when they wanted to know what to do, if should go, which direction should go. The Brisk Rav, for example, wanted to should go to Eretz Yisrael. Where should he flee to? There's a shalosh should someone go to Japan. The Baruchim that went to Japan, Yeshiva. Where should they? Someone that wanted to flee. So he threw a Goral and he went to Eretz Yisrael. So Reb Yeruchim, the Mashgiach in Mir, threw a Goral and they went to Japan.
So also did a Goral.
For himself?
He didn't know if you should go to America or to.
He was in Russia.
And it said go to Aaron your Achicha. You see in between
About it. Cutler.
A girl is kilo avoid the zara. That's what you will have to.
By the way, the Goral does not mean dafke the Goral the Gra. There's different ways of doing Gorals. There are different Svarim out there, of like old Svarim. I'm talking about old Svarim about how to do the Goral. Different tzaddikim, different Mekubalim had different ways how you can do Gorals and the different things. There's a more basic one is. Someone has a real doubt, he can open up a chumash, and the first thing that comes to him, the first pasuk, he can learn from there a hint how we should go about.
So this doesn't have to do with Zercha, Lo Zercha, when they say that they're making a Goral.
No.
Say there's 20 things, 19 is Lo Zercha, and 1 is Zercha, and they take one from...
Listen, it's a Goral. These are forms of Goral. Goral is a concept in Torah. It's in the Nevi'im by Yoinav. We see it all along. Goral is a concept in there.
But the gross is very complicated.
There's one of the Achronim says, one of the Gedolei Achronim says that a Goral which is done properly, it could come Karev to Ruach HaKodesh. It's done properly, Karev to Ruach HaKodesh. Anyways, Lamaisa is Azoi. We're not here over here to teach people how to do Gorals and everything. It's not our derech to open up Svarim to Gorals, but Goral, that's the ending of the page. Goral is a way of determining something when there's no logical explanation. I go to Goral. In general, when do you throw a lottery? When you have two things are equal. It says the two goats in Kippur had to look the same. They'll be the same size, the same worth. They had to look the same. So then you throw a Goral. But if one is better than the other, then you're going to say the one which is better should go Hashem, and the one that's not should go Lazazel. That's going to be the one you throw Lazazel. Right. So when you have two equal things, then you throw the Goral. Kasher Echem and Toiv Yoiser, next page Samazayin. A Makom LeGoral. There's no room for Goral. One is better than the other. V'davke k'sheshnei hadvarim im shavim. Since mitzad seichel, there's no way to figure out which way to choose. Second line from the top, page Samazayin. We rely on the Goral. This is the way it is down here by us human beings.
Which Lazazel was also picked by Goral?
Yeah. Which one was Azazel? Kohen put in a Goral.
Only if they went. They said that Kohen died that year.
That's for sure.
No.
Only if they happen to be equal, then you put the girl. But there was not always a girl by
No, they always made it. Goral is shaykh, by the way. Even if the Sarah and Lazazel were not the same, they would still throw the goral. It's shaykh. But the concept of goral is most brought out in a case when you have no seichel dika reason to choose one or the other. Now, this is the way it is by us, human beings, down here in this world. Now we're going to go a little spiritual. When we're talking about ruchniistic, when we talk about the concept of goral, it's talking about madregis of alikos, levels of godliness that are higher than understanding, they're higher than logic. That's what goral refers to. The chachma erashes the shtalshalos. The chachma is the beginning of shtalshalos. Goral shalamaylo chachal maylo shtalshalos. Comes out, what's the connection between Purim and Yom Kippur? Both on Purim and both Yom Kippur, they threw a goral. Goral meaning higher than seichel, higher than ishtalshalos. So it comes out that Purim and Yom Kippur reach to the Ein Sof higher than seichel. Now that connects us to the other thing that Yom Kippur and Yom Kippur are the same, that they both reach a level higher than the name of Havaya. Yudke Vavke. V'zeu HaKesher v'shnei hadyonim b'ashva d'yom HaKippurim v'Purim. Sheb'shneiim o'ingen hagoyrol, v'sheshneim im l'mayla Havaya. Both of them are goyrol, and both of them are higher than Havaya. Ki Havaya u'shtalsh. What does Havaya represent? The name of Havaya represents Ishtalshlos. Yud, the Yud represents Chachma. Hey represents Bina. Vav represents the 6 midas. Hey, the final Hey represents Malchus. The 10 spheres. Yud Ke Vav Ke represent the 10 spheres. The level of higher than Havaya represents higher than the 10 spheres. Higher than even Chachma, the highest sphere. Higher than Seichel. That's what Goral is. Goral is higher than Seichel. We're reaching to a level of godliness which is higher than understanding. Okay, let's.
God, we refer to godliness as happenstance. It's a higher level of godliness. It means it's a holier level of godliness. So why should Goral be endemic to godliness?
Goral is just a term. It's a code term. We say Goral.
We say that. I'm saying, but what's the tfisa in Nigla?
It's not happenstance.
No, I know.
When we throw Goral in Kippur and Purim, by throwing the fact that Goral was thrown shows that Lamaila, we're throwing the Goral was thrown down here.
Yeah.
Shows that Lamaila these days represent days where there shines in these days a level of Hashem is shining His level. He's showing us a level that's higher than the usually day-to-day level,
right,
where we have a seichel-tic approach. He's showing us that it's much deeper. Hashem is much higher than seichel. A gilui of the Ein Sof. Well, let's skip Sif Gimel Sif Daled, and we'll go to Sif Hey on page Samaches. In those parts, the paragraphs that we're skipping out talk more about. The Rebbe goes even deeper that Goyrel is not only higher than Seichel, it's higher than Yeratzin. Because a person sometimes, even when things are equal, for some reason a person's want could lead him a certain way. Person's want could lead him a certain way. His desire could tell him, I want to go one way. But he could still in all nullify his want, his Ratzin, and say, I'm going to follow the Goyrel. So Goyrel can even reach to levels higher than Ratzin. Ratzin's higher than Seichel. I don't want to get into it. It's other points. We have to stick to the core of the Maimer, because really learning this Maimer will take a long time. Let's take Sif Hey, the core of the Maimer, which I'm going to learn. Sif Hey, we need to understand. According to what we explained, the Fianal Shidea Pur Hua Goyrel, through the throwing of the Pur, which is the Goyrel, was the Hamshach of the Ein Sof, the Baal HaRatzin, the Ein Sof, which is higher than even Ratzin. Al days and the Skapar Kolyana built to Tzoyim, through that having such a level of a Gilui, that's how they had forgiveness, both in Yom Kippur and even Purim. There's a certain kapara. Shai days and the Skapar Kolyana built to Tzoyim. Anything that was negative had kapara. Once we determined that Goyrel is a high madrega, in Ruchni, spiritually Goyrel is a very high level. So why was Haman going to the level of Goyrel? What did he want with Goyrel? Why was Haman B'chalal making Goral? Just pick the date. Go and look at your calendar. When is it? When does he have a free schedule? That day, and that day I'll wipe out the Yidden.
But he also believed in God.
Well, yeah, he also knew something. He wasn't just he was working things out, right? He was figuring out if it was Ayin Adar, if it was a good day, it was not a good day. So he was superstitious, and he was looking to see.
It was a maimin.
So here is a very deep shot. Another shaila, besides for the shaila, why Haman wanted to do the Goral. We also need to understand a deeper question. When we say Purim is called Purim al Shem HaPur, we call Purim al Shem on the name of the Pur of the Lot. Behe idea. Koyal HaPur shenemar lifnei zehainu HaPur shehipol Haman. Means we're calling Purim, Pur, on the name of the Pur that Haman threw. The Pur that Haman threw was negative. Haman threw a negative Pur. Had a Pur shehipol Haman in Pilti Ratzi. It wasn't desirable. The Rebbe doesn't like saying bad. It wasn't desirable. Why are we going to call, for all of time, we're going to call Purim, Pur, on the Pur that Haman threw.
You have to remember those the poor name.
What's the difference?
So the Kudah we're going to, before I read it inside.
Also remember that the poor men are Shushan.
Oh, they know English?
What's the difference between the question that we opened the mind with and this?
To think about it, it's a good shaila. I have to think what's the difference.
Could be repeating the same question because he's in the Indian.
Not sure. Stammer, there is a difference. I have to look at it again.
Try to make Esther
This is very good.
I'll look at it afterwards, Mitchum, again. L'maisa, the Nakud of the beer over here is like this. That, before we read inside, that Haman, he dafke wanted to go to the level of Goral. He was dafke. He dafke resorted to Goral. Dafke because it's a very high level of godliness. Dafke, why?
Yeah, but it's a
Because
godliness that loves the Jews, not dislikes the Jews.
Haman thought like this. This was the cheshbon. Haman thought like this. You know, he knows that Yidden are loved by Hashem. Hashem likes the Yidden. And no matter how much he's going to say bad things to Hashem about the Yidden, look, they do this wrong, that wrong. In the ending of the day, nothing compared to him. He's a total Rasha, Haman. He's an evil person. And even by Yidden, even Rashayim, have mitzvahs malayim keriman. Full of mitzvahs like keriman. They give tzedakah, they do chesed. Every year does his things. So even if he did bad things, but he also does good things. He's not Haman a Rasha. So the Kitrig, being Mekatrik, to wipe out Klal Yisrael totally wipe out Klal Yisrael off the face of the earth is not going to work by coming to say that I'm better than you, Goyim are better than Yidden. It's not going to work. It's not true. It's not going to work. So Haman felt the only way he could do this was by reaching deeper. He said like this, you know what? Hashem's love for Klal Yisrael is based on their Torah and mitzvahs that they do and the chesed that they do. This is on a lower level. But if you go higher, you reach the level of Goral. What's the Goral? Goral is where everything is equal. Everything's equal. A level where Hashem, this world is so not choshev by him.
Random.
So that Yidden and Goyim are the same, chas v'shalom by him.
It's random. There's no
Yidden and Goyim are the same. I'll reach to that level of godliness, like the Navi says, Haloi och Esav Yaakov. Is not Esav a brother to Yaakov? Esav's a brother to Yaakov. So why should Hashem choose Yaakov over Esav? They're brothers, and Hashem could say he wants Esav, he doesn't want Yaakov. So Haman said, let me go to that level. Let me go to a higher level, to the level of Goral, where everything's equal. There's no differences. And when I reach that level, I'll have a power over the Yidden. That's why deeper.
That Haman had that's
even if Haman did not have all that machshava, but his mazel l'mayla, the Haman l'mayla had that machshava. That was what the clip in the Sitrach at that point was trying. Maybe Haman himself did not know about it, but the fact that it fell into his mind, such an interesting concept that he should start throwing a Goral, was because his nefesh was telling him that. The nefesh of Haman was telling him that.
How did he know Moshe Yosef?
So he was involved. You see, he was. He was in tune with
He
things.
had some like informers.
Well, Dylan knew a lot of Kishuf.
Yeah.
The Jews probably
A lot of people that fought us were Napoleon. Was not a fighter. The Yidden Dafke, but when he was chasing the Alter Rebbe, he Dafke wanted to have something of the Alter Rebbe's object so he could do kishuf on it. There was different concepts of kishuf, and now even if we hold that Haman did not know a word about this, but it was Haman's mazel l'mayla. This is the way it was l'mayla. Everything that happens down here is playing out what happens in Shemayim. There was a kitrug, a prosecution against Klal Yisrael. Purim time, the prosecution against Klal Yisrael was that we're reaching a madrega that Yidden are only loved by Hashem only in a lower madrega. But if you're going to reach the level of Goral, you're going to throw a Goral where a Goral is where everything's equal. So everything's equal. Esav, Yaakov, it's all the same.
So high.
Nekudas, let's see it inside. In the middle of Sif Hey, the line starts with the word of the Lama. 5 lines into the Sif. Nekudas habir bazeh, mishamatzara darga d'shtalshalos. From the level of Ishtalshalos, the lower level, Kimim Shebedar Gazu, and that level, Maisa Tachtoinim Teifus Mokim, the actions of the lower beings have value to them. Ikar Hashpah Yisrael, the main Hashpah of Hashem is going to be to Klal Yisrael. She Yisrael and Mekayim Torah Mitzvahs, they listen to Hashem, they keep Torah Mitzvahs. Filu Eimel Shehem Hefech Tzadikim, the Rebbe does not want to say where the Chazal Rishayim. So the Rebbe is very careful. He says, Hefech HaTzadikim, very pure, Lashon Naki. Even those that are opposite of Tzadikim, Hey Malay Mitzvahs Karim, and are full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. When Shekos of Ashkivim and Kajam Neshamayim Vedech Zampri Yisrael, Shemitzah B'china Shemayim Nishpoyim HaBrochas Yisrael, from Shemayim the Brochas always come to Klal Yisrael. V'kim Shegam Hamad Rasha Yada, Hamad Rasha knew. Shalaachi kol ha-ketrugim, after all the different ketrugim he's going to have, Shekita Gal Yisrael, and Yishim Dumyim Bein Noel Bein Yisrael, there's no comparison in him and Klal Yisrael. Therefore, we'll skip the parentheses, therefore he threw up a lot. That level, what the lower beings do does not have value. Hashem is so above it, he has no value. You do a mitzvah, you don't do a mitzvah. So therefore, Torah and mitzvahs are not important over there. Kaviyachol. So he thought, Hakoil Shavim Sham, everything's equal on that level. Like it says in Tehillim, for Hashem, darkness and light is the same. There's no difference. It's dark for Hashem when it's dark outside. It's not dark outside, it's not dark for him. So he thought, even at that level, everything's the same. Torah, mitzvah, goyim, yidden, it's all the same, and there he'll be able to mekate. L'chein choshev shemitzadargas hagoyrul shemayla b'shtal yesh mokim. It's possible shehu yinatzeh chas v'shalom Yisrael. Maybe Hashem will win over.
Next question.
Yeah. We'll skip to Sif Ches.
Yes. Well,
Page Ayin, the bottom of page Ayin.
He was ready to wipe the Yidden out. He was waiting for a day that also in Shemayim they would be masking with him. Wipe the Yidden out. That's what he was doing.
He was trying to reach a level of
that Lamaila they also would be masking.
that only way he could do anything is with having Hashem being masking.
Right. So he also knew that he needed to get a day that was the Hefech HaTorah for the Yidden.
Yeah, so to have such a kitrug, one thing you say, Klal Yisrael not keeping Torah mitzvahs, some tzara shit happens, one thing. This wasn't just a tzara. This is deciding that Klal Yisrael are over.
Yeah.
So the side that Klal Yisrael are over, it's not going to work from the lower levels where Ma'isa Tachtoinim Martoifas Mokim, where the actions that we do have value, mean something. Where Torah and mitzvahs have value, that level of godliness where Torah and mitzvahs can pull strings, so seemingly Haman's never going to win. At the ending of the day, Klal Yisrael always does more Torah and mitzvahs. They're not doing Torah and mitzvahs, and we are doing Torah and mitzvahs. So the kitchen's not going to work. So the only way he thought he would be able to mekatrik, and we have to see why he was wrong. The only way he thought he was able to mekatrik was let him reach the level of Goral. Over there, seemingly there's no difference whether you do a mitzvah, you don't do a mitzvah, and whether you're Yid or you're Goy, and you're all the same.
The answer of the Goral brought him back below the Shtalshalis.
No. We'll see. It's brought it higher than the Shtal.
How?
How long was...
So before we go further, we're going to let's talk about the Nakud outside. The mistake of Haman was like this. And this is a very deep idea, and it's very important for all year long. Hashem loves Klal Yisrael even when there's no reason. He loves a Jew even when there's no reason. When there's absolutely no reason. A Jew's connection, a Klal Yisrael's connection with Hashem, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is not based on reason. It's above reason. It's l'mayla mehaseichel. Haman thought the Kesher Klal Yisrael only reaches up to seichel. So if they're doing seichel, logically wise, they are keeping Torah mitzvahs, even if they're not on the greatest level, but they're obviously better than a goy. So that's obviously in that level, Hashem's going to always treat the Yidden more special. But if he's going to dig deeper and reach a level where there is seemingly no difference between Klal Yisrael and Yid, there's no advantage of a Yid over a goy, on that where that level of godliness, which is so high, so removed, that whatever goes on in this world does not matter. He seemingly doesn't matter. He thought on that level for sure, I'll be able to win over Klal Yisrael. What his mistake was is he didn't know that on that very level itself, where there's seemingly no difference between Klal Yisrael and everyone's the same, over there Hashem still loves the
What
Yid.
is that called?
And he chose the Bechira of Am Yisrael. The choosing of Am Yisrael was not based on things that we did. Hashem took Am and he decided that this is his nation. Kimuvan, there were things Avraham Avinu did and Yitzchak did. There was a Kedusha of the Avis. But when we came to Matan Torah, Hashem took a nation that was a nation amongst all the nations of the world, and he took them and set them aside his nation. And no matter what happens, Banim Atem Lashem Alekeichem, we are sons, just like a child to a parent. The child-parent relationship is not based on logic. It's not based on logic. Friendships are based on logic. Friendships are based on logic and emotions. You feel a connection to the person. You feel a connection, you like a quality of the person, so you enjoy being around them, you enjoy talking to them. You gravitate to people that are similar to you, that think like you, that feel like you. It's based on reason. When the reasons disappear, you no longer have any connection to the person. For example, let's say that person you get in a fight with that person. Chas v'shalom. There's a fight. So everything disappears. There's no connection anymore. There's zero connection. However, when it comes to a parent-child relationship,
You can't disconnect.
there's no way to disconnect. No matter how bad one is to the other, they still,
It's always going to be a fight.
they always feel, they can always fight their whole life, but it doesn't make a difference. They're all upset at each other for a reason, because these two they're integrally connected. There's an integral connection, an essential connection between a child and a parent, because the child came from the parent, and therefore it's a part of the parent, an actual part of the parent. No matter what happens, there's going to be feelings for one and the other. There's always going to be a connection. And it's not based on values, and it's not based on logic, and it's not based on emotion. It's deeper. It's an essential bond. It's an essence bond. That means the parents can be the parent and the child can be totally different. This one can like this. This one likes baseball. The other one hates baseball. It doesn't make it if this one's smart, so not smart. It doesn't make it if this is a father and a son, and a mother and a son, and a mother and a daughter. This is a relationship that goes deeper. The ava goes much deeper. It's called in the language. It's called ava atzmis. It's not an ava pitam vadas. It's an ava l'mayla mitam vadas. An ava atzmis, an essence ava, an ava from the very essence of the beings themselves. Now. Same thing. The Ava that Hashem connects himself with Klal Yisrael is not based on logic. It's not based on seichel. It's not based on midas. It's deeper. So Haman's mistake was he thought that the Kesher Klal Yisrael only reaches up to a certain point and that's it. The Sulai no more connected. What he didn't realize was even when he reached up to the level of Goral, well, outwardly, B'chitzonis, it seemed like there's no difference between a Yid and a Goy. Haloi och Esav Yaakov, the Navi said. The Navi asks, Haloi och Esav Yaakov is not Esav a brother of Yaakov? And you know what the Navi answers? Still in all, you're right. Esav's a brother to Yaakov. And seemingly there's no difference. But Oyev is Yaakov, is Esav Sanesi. It's a very important thing. There's something called the Am HaNivchar, the very basic the fundamentals of Yiddishkeit. Hashem chose us as a nation. Am HaNivchar. Oyev is Yaakov. I love Yaakov. The Esav Sanesi.
Is that the level of Ratzon or not really?
Now, that's called Bechira. Bechira of Am Yisrael, the choosing of one of Achart and Mikolam V'Loshen. We'll be saying davening every day. This is the concept of Bechira. We say Matan Torah, Hashem chose Klal Yisrael. Bechira is higher than Seichel. The higher concept of choosing something is only when things are equal. When things are not equal, there's nothing to choose. It's obvious what the answer is, the outcome is. When you need to make a choice, a decision, when things are the same. Goyrul is when things are the same. Hashem's Bechira of Am Yisrael reaches up even into the level of Goyrul. That means like this: there really is no level that Hashem doesn't love Klal Yisrael. Chas v'shalom. There is no such a thing. The love of Klal Yisrael goes through and through all the rungs, through every single level. The Ava's there. On the lower level down here, when we view the Ava, it's an Ava based on Seichel, because we do Torah mitzvahs. We're closer to Hashem. We're davening to Him. We're in touch with Him. We're doing what He wants. So obviously there's a relationship. But even when you reach to a higher rung, to a higher level, where seemingly things that go on down here are not important, so seemingly we shouldn't be important either, because we're just a speck of the earth. We're a speck of the. The answer is no. The Av of Hashem is even in those madregas where there's no seichel, where there's goyrol, even where there's a goyrol. Therefore, the goyrol, when Haman threw the goyrol went. There was sort of like a magnet pulling. Hashem pushed the goyrol. Ata toimich geiroli. Hashem was toimich. The goyrol pushed the goyrol to the side. That the goyrol went to the side of Klal Yisrael, because he felt that Yud Gimel Adar. He was happy that it fell at Zayin Ba'adar Mace. He didn't know Zayin Ba'adar Noilad. Zayin Ba'adar. What does it mean? What it meant is that really the whole lottery to begin with. Was Haman thought that he's going to, over there, Dafka, he's going to get a Yeshua. And Dafka from there was the Yeshua Farker, the opposite. The Dafka over there that came out, the Goral went for Klal Yisrael, went in an auspicious time for Klal Yisrael, and everything went good for Klal Yisrael. And therefore, it's a very interesting Medrash. The Medrash says, the Gemara says, the ending of the Megillah says, Charvoina said that the Megillah said Asher loy, that Haman went to go to Achashverosh to ask him to hang Haman on the tree that he prepared for him, for Mordechai. The Gemara says prepared for him really meant prepared for himself. What does that mean, really prepared for himself? Was it for Haman? Was it for him?
Haman prepared it for himself. He didn't realize. Same thing to his mazel.
I'm really jumping a step. But Lamaisa, before we go to the next step, there's another. There was the Alter Rebbe's grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek, was in a cheder yingel, cheder child. His Zayda asked him, "What are you learning? Are you learning Megillah in cheder?" He said, "Yeah, he's learning Megillah." He said, "Well, you understand everything you're learning?" He said, "No." He said, "He has a kasha. It says that he made the eights, the gallows. He made 50 amma, gavoy yasel eights, gavoy 50 amma, 50 ammas high." He said, "Well, Mordechai was 50 ammas high. Why did Haman need such a big eights?"
With everybody to see it.
So the Alter Rebbe was quiet, didn't say anything. There is the pshat reason. He wanted to show the cities, a pshat. There's a deeper reason. Always in Torah you have different levels: pshat, the medrash, the raz, and the soid. The soid, the deeper reason was Haman wanted to reach up to the 50th level, the 50th gate of Kedusha, and he felt in that high madrega, if he'll reach up to the Shar Hanun, the 50th gate over there in that level, it won't be Negeya, it won't be important. Klal Yisrael won't be important. That's what he thought, if he'll reach up to that madrega. That was his machshava. The Alter Rebbe didn't answer his Einuka right away, but it came Purim, he said a mimer, based on this pasuk, Yasu loyeitz gavayich hamisham, and he said this beer that Haman wanted to reach up to the 50th gate, the 50th shah. So Lamaisa, that's now we'll take this all a step deeper. reality was, why did the whole story of Purim come about? Why B'chla was there a Haman? Everything's Bashkacha Pratis. Everything was set up. Torah tells us clearly everything that happens to Klal Yisrael is Bashkacha. There's a reason. The whole reason why it was set up in a way that there was going to be a Haman, and Haman was going to be Mekatchin and Klal Yisrael and throw a pour, was all in order to bring this point out. It was all a stage. It was all a stage. Hashem staged it from beginning to bring out that His love for Klal Yisrael show clearly the Avas Klal Yisrael was an Ava Atzmis, a higher than L'mayla Mitam Vadas, higher than the Milas. It was like Banim Ata Hashem Alekeichem. So therefore, he arranged it in a way that Haman's going to throw the Goral, the poor. Meaning, there's one thing is what Haman thought. Haman thought that the Goral was going to play his way. But let me ask you something. Why did Hashem l'chatchila set up this whole situation where Haman is here and Haman's being Mekatrig and he's setting up a Goral, the whole story with Vashti, the whole story from the beginning. The whole story is a play where Hashem is bringing out that I'm going to show you that even on that level of Goyah where things outwardly, externally seem that there's no difference between a Yid and a Goy, still in all, my Ava reaches over there too. And that's why when Haman was preparing the eights, Asher Heichin Loi, for Mordechai, that's what he thought. But the Chazal tell us in Maseches Megillah that the reality was that L'mayla and Shemayim, the whole plan was why you should make this, was in order to put Haman on it. That was the whole plan to begin with. So the whole Maisa Purim was to bring this out. Al Pizah, but we have to go to Ma'ariv, but Al Pizah, I'll say another Vart. It doesn't say in this Maimer. And before we go to that Vart, this was the Maimer the Rebbe said that night when Stalin was killed. That night when Stalin was killed, the Rebbe said that story before the Maimer about how the Tsar was thrown over. And the Chassid called out, "Hoorah, he's evil," 3 times. The Rebbe right away launched 3-4 in the morning. He launched in 1953. Launched to this Maimer because now was the time. That was the time of the doctor's plot. Stalin then invented the doctor's plot. How he had a plan. How he was going to do the same thing like Purim, like Haman. He had a plan to take all of Klal Yisrael and send them to Siberia. And there he's going to in Siberia. They'll all on their own die out living in Siberia. He built places in Siberia. He built cabins over there. He built places for them.
Railroad lines.
He built railroad lines. His plan was to send them all to Siberia. Right. So they concocted a whole story in Russia. I heard from Russian people that were there and remembered the story. And one of them was a doctor who told me his name was on one of these lists. It was a doctor's plot where they one day came out on the radio over there in the papers that they caught doctors. Basically, most of them were Jewish doctors that were plotting to overthrow the government, the father Stalin and everyone else, and to poison them. And this whole story caused that this was a whole plan by Stalin that all the Russian citizens should be very upset and angry at Jewish people wherever they are. And the story was being talked about everywhere. Jewish people couldn't go on the streets. They weren't in the stores when they came to the store to buy something. They said, "Go, we don't want you." They started destroying their stores and they lost jobs and they were chasing them everywhere, being thrown off trains. It was terrible at the time. This happened 1 month before Stalin was killed. And it was a very terrible time. This was all a plan of Stalin that he's going to lead into, that everyone's so upset with them, that he's going to show he's protecting the Jewish people. He's going to say in order to protect them, because everyone's against them, we're going to send them to Siberia. And shipped them all to Siberia. That was his plan. And in Nitamol, he suddenly mysteriously dies. A month later. And Stalin dies on Purim night, 1953.
Went down a lot on the
and right after Stalin was killed, things got a lot better for Klal Yisrael. Things got a lot better. And by the way, something interesting about the story, that there was a famous, when the Communist Party started, there was a section called the Jewish section. These people, Yevseksia means Jewish section in Russian. These people were really hated. They were self-hating Jews, and they hated Yidden. And they were the ones that helped the communists close down all the mikvahs, the shuls, and the yeshivas, and they shut down Yiddishkeit. They shut Yiddishkeit down, and they were the ones that threw everyone in prison. They were the ones that threw the Frierdiker Rebbe in prison. The Yevseksia. So when Stalin shut down the Yesexia, then at that time, you think Stalin cared about the Yesexia? He didn't want those Yidden either. Yesexia, he wiped out the Yesexia. That time, by the doctor's plot, was when he wiped out the Yesexia.
What do you mean by wiping?
Why did he wipe down? He killed them out. Why did he kill out the Yesexia? Yeah, it was Stalin killed 10 million people. He was Rabbi Meroza's grandfather, Rabbi Meroza's great grandfather, was also killed. Yeah, and he has buried in a mass grave. And if they find his mass graves in the forest, Stalin had a place outside the city where they killed people. So Lamaisa was that whole story, Baruch Hashem, came to an end with when he was died, the whole story finished off. So another thing is, we know the Gemara tells us the chayiv inish psumim pori adal yada. A person has to obligated to drink on Purim to the point where he doesn't know the difference. Layada bein or hamala baruch Mordechai. He doesn't know the difference between blessed as Mordechai, gebench as Mordechai, or cursed as Haman. The shaila is very pashut. Purim is all about Baruch Mordechai and Ar Haman. That's the whole Purim. We're celebrating Baruch Mordechai, Ar Haman. Now the Gemara is telling us you got to drink so much until you don't know the difference. What does this mean? You don't know the difference? That's the epitome of the joy. The epitome of the simcha is at the ending of the day you're going to scream out the opposite of Baruch Mordechai and Ar Haman. That's what the Gemara. That's what the day is. So there's different pirushim. The Chiddush Pshat is Baruch Mordechai and Ar Haman. Of course, you're going to say L'chaim and another L'chaim. And you're going to still say Ar Haman and Baruch Mordechai. And you're going to say more L'chaim, more L'chaim. You're going to keep on saying L'chaim. You're never going to go away from Baruch Mordechai and Ar Haman. The only difference is in the beginning of the night, you were saying it because it made sense to you. Baruch Mordechai and Ar Haman. It makes sense that Klal Yisrael is Baruch and Haman is Ar. But when you're going on at night, you continue saying Baruch Mordechai and Ar Haman, but on a deeper level. Baruch Mordechai, in essence, Mordechai is blessed. Whatever Mordechai does, he's blessed. L'mayla mehaseichel. There's a deep love like a parent to a child. And no matter what a yid does and how far he goes, Hashem loves him and wants him to come back. Hashem doesn't say, that's it. No, he wants that yid to come back wherever he is. And Ar Haman is on a deeper level. That we're not only against bad and evil because it morally doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel good morally. We are against evil because even higher than Seichel. We are against evil because Hashem said we're to be against it. We don't only not steal because it's morally incorrect to steal. We don't steal also because it says Lo Signiv in Aseres Hadibris. Because Hashem told us not to steal. Hashem told us not to do it. That makes it immoral. The difference between mitzvahs which make sense and don't make sense are, they're all really the same. They all boil down to the Ratzon Hashem. Hashem told us you have to do it whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense. A higher being, Hashem, the creator of the universe, the Riboyin Kol Eilamim, has told us, do this and don't do this. We cannot fathom these reasons. They don't have to be reasons. Hashem said it. The only difference between chukim and mishpatim are some mitzvahs. The reason it actually makes sense to us also. Hashem allowed His ratzon to come down that actually makes sense also. It's mishpatim. Don't steal, don't cheat, don't kill. It makes sense also. And chukim remain purely a ratzon of Hashem, and Hashem never allowed us to have any feeling of why we shouldn't do it. So, but ultimately, the Ar Haman Baruch Mordechai has to be L'mayla Mesech, and that's the message of Purim. The message of Purim is that even in places where it doesn't make sense, we have a connection with Hashem. We have to connect to Him.
That's why it's appropriate.
That's the ikar. That's why we call Purim Hashem HaPur. Purim is given the name Goral, and not only Stam Goral, it's given Goral HaPur about the pour that Haman threw. Because specifically the pour that Haman threw in reality was really all there is a setup to show us the Av of Hashem to us. And that's how we celebrate Purim. L'chatchila, that was the whole kavanah. That l'chatchila was the whole kavanah. Not only was that Haman's kavanah was the goyrel, and in order that was the kavanah l'mayla that Haman should throw the goyrel was also for that kavanah. To bring out that Av of Hashem in that madrega.
Is L'mayla Ma'ashtal Shel Seichel is
They
Chacham,
only
right?
announced the death a few days later.
L'mayla Ma'ashtal Shel.
The work that came out that 3 days earlier, he passed away on Purim.
Or Haman and Baruch Mordechai the same demand.